Yeah, I really do miss the old days. I gotta tell you, there was nothing like walking into a recording studio and seeing all that gear and getting to work. There was nothing like it. Today, you have a computer, a DAW, and some plugins, maybe a few pieces of hardware gear, and you call it a hybrid studio, and you're good to go. And there's nothing wrong with that. But there was nothing like walking into a studio some 30 some odd years ago and seeing all that gear and knowing you were getting ready to have a great day. Before I start to discuss the golden age of the recording studio, I wanted to go over a couple of things with you first. First, my recording studio, FX Studio, which was on Flatlands Avenue in Brooklyn, New York, was my first experience in actually going commercial, and I enjoyed every minute of it. Now, sometimes there were days and sometimes there were weeks where I went without a single client. And you know what? I didn't mind. I was in there and I was having a ball just being creative and learning more about my equipment and learning all the tricks of the trade and just learning so much. And the experience was just an amazing experience because, again, there's nothing like walking into a studio and seeing that gear and knowing it's all yours and it's just sitting there waiting for you to get started to use it. But let me ask you a question. Have you ever actually heard the physical weight of sound? Let me say that again. The physical weight of sound. Now, what am I talking about there? I'm talking about the sound that you get when you're using analog gear and 2-inch tape. Now, back in the day, I used Ampeg 2-inch tape, which went into my Tascam TRS-24, which was plugged into my Tascam M3500 console. Old stuff, go ahead and Google it, see if you can find it, but some 30-odd years ago, that's what I was using, and that was some pretty good equipment back then. I had a Hafler 2400 power supply. I had Lexicon reverbs. I had an Alesis 3630 compressor. And let me tell you something about that Alesis 3630 compressor. You can't find them today. And if you do, they probably don't work. However, there is one exception. There's always an exception to the rule, right? There's a band out there, I believe that they broke up not too long ago, but a band called Daft Punk. And Daft Punk used the Alesis 3630. Now again, keep in mind, this is a 30-year-old piece of equipment, but it was fantastic. Fantastic for something that cost $300 30 years ago and a compressor, and they're still using it up until about 3 or 4 years ago. That's amazing. I had one, I loved it, and I wish I had it today. Unfortunately, I don't have it. Unfortunately, probably the upkeep and the maintenance and the repairs that I would have had to make on that piece of equipment to maintain it for that long period of time would have been too timely and too costly, and I can't imagine how Daft Punk did it, but they did it. That was an amazing piece of gear. I remember the first time I used it and I ran some tracks through it, I was blown away. Now, it's not a Fairchild 670. It's not one of these higher end compressors that you have today. But 30 years ago, that thing was amazing. and I wish I had it today. But anyway, I had the Hafler, I had the Alesis, I had Lexicon reverbs, I had the TSR 24, I had the M3500 recording console, I had microphones. I can't even remember which one. There was so many. I had the AKG C414 microphone. I think I had 3 of them. I had the Shure SM58, the 57. I can't even remember half of the stuff that I had. I can tell you I don't have any of it anymore. 30 years ago, yeah, that stuff is long gone. But I've got new stuff now, more modern equipment that I'm very happy with. But I got to tell you, I wish I still had half of the stuff that I had back then. But anyway, the physical weight of sound. That's what you get. That's what you hear when you're using those old school types of equipment. There's nothing like it today. For the younger generation out there, and you guys that are just getting started in this game that we call audio engineering, I feel for you, because you have no idea what you never heard. Sure, you probably go back and listen to some very old albums now with Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin and Earth, Wind and Fire, and you'll hear it. But there's nothing like hearing it in the studio while it's being recorded, coming through your headphones or coming through your studio monitors. To this day, I can tell you, and this video is not a debate about which is better, analog or digital. We're not going to go there. But I will tell you, there is nothing like hearing that physical weight of sound. That natural compression, that natural saturation, that natural glue that you get using analog tape along with analog gear. It just does not exist anymore. There's somebody out there, the solid state logic, so Rupert Neves, if you come up with something that can recreate to a T something that sounds like that, congratulations. I haven't heard it yet. And I've used some of your upper end equipment. Not even close. It's a completely different feel. It's a completely different sound. There's nothing like it today. So now let's talk about the studio, the recording session, and working with musicians back in the golden age of the recording studio. Before I even get there, let me just tell you something. I lived in Canarsie, small little town in Brooklyn, New York, and I walked 3 miles every single day to my recording studio on Flatlands Avenue. Not because I didn't have a car, not because I didn't have the money to take public transportation. I did it because I chose to do it. Because that 3-mile walk was the most mind-clearing, cobweb-removing, relaxing, reinvigorating 3-mile walk that I would take every single day. It just did something for you, so that when you finally got to the studio and I lifted up that roll gate and I walked down that flight of steps into the basement where the studio was, I was refreshed and I was ready to go. And then after the day was over with, I would walk the 3 miles back home because, again, completely refreshing, reinvigorating. An 8-hour, 10-hour, 15-hour, 16-hour recording session can take a lot out of both the musicians and the audio engineer. So that walk to and from the studio each and every day did a lot for me. But anyway, I'm in the studio. I walk down the steps. I unlock the door and I walk in, and there it is. It's just sitting there waiting for me. It's just sitting there. Now I go in. I have to turn everything on. And here's something I know that a lot of you don't realize. Back in the day, back in the dinosaur days, when everything was analog, you didn't just turn on your equipment and start recording 5 minutes later. These things had tubes in them. These things had to warm up for a while before you could actually start using them. My gear, I had to turn it on and let it sit there and let everything warm up for at least 30 minutes before I even thought about starting to record. Those tubes had to warm up. That circuitry had to warm up. That was analog. That was the experience. You get there an hour before the client shows up, you turn everything on, you let it warm up. 30 minutes later, they show up, and now you're ready to go. But that was how it worked. Today, you go into your recording studio, you flip on the button on your computer, you press a couple of buttons on your computer, and you bring up your DAW, and you're good to go immediately. Immediately. I wish it were like that back then, but back then I didn't know any better because that's just the way things were. You knew you were going to walk into your recording studio and turn it on and have a cup of coffee or go buy a newspaper or whatever it is that you were going to do, or prepare your notes for the recording session because you knew you had a good 30 minutes to wait for everything to get warmed up and primed and ready to rock and roll. That's just the way it was. So now you've got everything warmed up. About 30 minutes later, your clients finally walk in. Of course, the drummer comes in late. They always do. I don't know what it is about drummers, but it was always the drummer. Either showed up late or forgot his drumsticks or whatever the case was, but it was always the drummer. And I'm not picking on drummers, but it's the truth. I don't know what it is with you guys. But anyway, everybody's there now. And we're ready to start recording. You hit record. Let's go. Here's the issue. You get one take. Just one. This isn't a DAW where you can just stop, overdub, go back, do the take over, and as many takes as you like and just keep doing it. You get one take when you're using tape and analog gear. Why? Those reels of tape cost about $35 a pop. You weren't doing anything over. And if you were doing it over, you were using up more tape. You couldn't go back and re-record over the tape because you end up with an overcompressed piece of tape that just sounded horrible. If there was a mistake made and they decided to do it over, you just kept that tape rolling. Just kept that reel spinning. We say, okay, let's do it again. And then after a while, you say, oh, ran out of tape. Got to go get another reel of tape. That gets expensive. DAW, make as many takes as you like. Don't have to worry about the expense of doing things over and over, but not the issue. Not the same situation as using analog tape. Completely different situation there. But speaking of doing things over, here's where the magic happened in the golden age of the recording studio. In the middle of a take, the singer has a few notes where they're just slightly off key. Or the drummer is just rat-a-tatting away, and you notice and you look in the booth and you're looking at everybody and you heard it and you know that they heard it too, but he was just slightly off on his timing in a few different parts of that particular track. What do? Do we do this over or not and just let it be? One of the lessons that I learned in my many years of running that studio, sometimes the imperfections are actually perfections. Let me say that again. Those imperfections, that drummer slightly off time, that vocalist slightly off key, those imperfections were actually perfections because they showed the human side. Having one take and one shot at this, and you know you don't want to keep doing it over and over, it forces the musicians and the singers to perform. It forces them to be better. It forces them to concentrate on what they're doing. Today, you don't have to worry about that. Oh, made a mistake, let's do it over. $35 a pop for a reel-to-reel 24-inch 2-inch 24-track tape. That gets expensive. And no, you're not getting another roll for free. You're going to give me $35 so I can go in my closet and get another reel of tape for you. Nothing's free in a recording studio. I know it. They know it. It made them perform better. It made them better musicians. It kept them focused on what they were doing. Completely different today. So where are we today? What am I saying? Am I saying that analog is so much better than digital? I am not saying that at all. I actually did a video on that a while ago where I said they're just different, but one isn't better than the other one. And I'm still saying that they are different, but one isn't better than the other one. But I will say this. There is nothing like the sonic perfection, the quality, the experience of listening to analog tape running through an analog recording console, running through analog outboard gear, and the finished product is 100% entirely analog. There is nothing like it. Nothing like it. Until next time, G-Sharp Jams. I hope you got something out of this. Just wanted to go down memory lane with you a little bit and share some of my experiences with you and some of my thoughts and my opinions about analog gear and what's going on today with the digital revolution, which is clearly not coming to an end anytime soon. If anything, it's just going to get better and better, and the sound quality is going to get better and better. But I honestly don't think it will ever come to being anywhere close to the warmth and the roundness and the weight that you get with analog gear. Again, not saying that one is better than the other or one is worse than the other. They're just different. Till next time, G-Sharp Jams. Everyone, stay creative, stay safe out there, and I'll see you next week with another video.
Hey creators, I just wanted to take a quick minute to invite you to become a member of this channel. Ever find yourself geeking out over the latest gear or searching for that perfect setup tip? Welcome to the FX Studio 2 community, your new creative hub. Here, we dive deep into gear discussions, share innovative ideas, and offer suggestions to elevate our setups. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, this is the place to connect, learn, and grow together. Join us, share your thoughts, and let's build a community where creativity thrives. Ready to be part of the conversation? Just follow these simple steps on your screen and become a member of the FX Studio 2 community today.